Okay, awesome. Hi, how are you? I hope you're doing really well today in this 9th June 2025. Oh my god, we're finalizing the second quarter of this year. It's crazy, but anyways, I just happy to come back with another video for you about clay, how to scale in clay, because this is probably one of the most important things when you're working with big data. And there's no one talks about this thing, like everyone talks about everything that clay can does actually can do, but no one talks about how you can use it to the best potential when you're using big data, or most importantly when you're scaling in clay, because it's not the same thing when you're working with 50 records, 100 records, 1000 records, when you're using more than 30,000 plus records, okay, inside of clay simultaneously, using enrichments, using OpenAI, using ClayGen, using whatever, right? So I'm going to share with you how to scale in clay, and how this has helped us to make more than $100,000 in 3 months for a specific SaaS company. And yeah, I'm gonna share with you all those things to you. Okay, so let's go straight into it. So how to scale in clay. So most people love to overcomplicate things. So I'm gonna minimize myself because I don't know why. But yeah, how to scale in clay. Oh my god, this is amazing. And this has been, of course, this has been from my experience. This has been from all the knowledge that I've got in the last, I don't know, like 6 months working with an amazing client. And the reason why I'm sharing this with you is because in this specific client, we were having trouble timing like the whole market, right? So but we needed to launch fast, right? We needed to test fast, so we iterated the process, and this is something I'm going to share with you in a sec. But this comes from a situation where we were actually knowing that in the future we'll need to iterate and improve, and by scaling up the systems. Okay, so yeah, there you go. So how to scale in clay. So most people love to overcomplicate things. So remember something, that hard things at scale are impossible, and simple things at scale are hard, right? So we want to go into this side, right? And most people like this side because most people like to overcomplicate things by adding more enrichments, adding more things with clay, adding more formulas, adding do whatever, right? And that's not a way. We love simplicity. Simplicity scales. That's really good, right? And each workflow, when we're talking about clay specifically, has its fundamentals. So we should look at them as our cornerstones, right? So for example, so let's say we are mapping out. So we have a workflow. So we're mapping our TAM, we're qualifying it, and scoring our best leads. Okay. So our fundamental stones in this specific case would be where we're pulling the data from. So the database, the list, whatever. So a conference list, a competitors list, like anything. The qualifying steps. So what makes a specifically qualified to be? What are the criteria that makes a lead qualified, right? And the scoring model. How we're scoring these type of things. This is leads specifically, right? So here's the catch. This is important. Each stone works together. They should be intertwined. They are not independent steps. Okay, and what I mean by that is that we should not look at them as independent steps. So where we're pulling the data from is one step, the qualifying steps is another step, or another like a stone, and the scoring model is another different thing. No, they should work together, right? And the reason why I'm saying this is because if you come up, let's say you're working with, I don't know, this is a pretty silly example, but anyways, it works perfectly. Let's say you're looking for, you want to reach out e-commerce, okay? And let's say you are pulling the data from LinkedIn, right? So what happens is that now your qualifying steps should be better, right? Because the list is not great. And as the list is not great, you should improve your qualifying steps, and at the same time, the scoring model should change. Because now you have more steps, you have more columns inside your workflow, right? And that's not idea, right? That's not idea, because if you knew that if you use a star list to come out with a better list, now your qualified steps should not be that great, or the necessary needs to be amazing, right? Because you know the list is good, and at the same time the scoring model improves because now you don't have to, I don't know, let's say you're using LinkedIn to come up with e-commerce, so now you don't have to say if it's not e-commerce return me 0. That is deleted because you know every single one of them are e-commerce, you see. So every fundamental stone should be intertwined. They work together. They're not independent steps, okay? And that's so important because we're looking this as a step 1 finish, step 2 finish. No, everything works together, right? And if you know that for in the beginning, everything works smoothly. Okay, that's so important. It's so simple to understand, right? But no one does it, and everyone wants to add more columns and more specific things. When in reality, the best workflows that I know are the ones that are simple, but they understand. They have fundamental. They have depth. Okay, and that's so cool. Now, now you see now. This is data, and as data, we need to look at it, understand it, and iterate to the point where it becomes simpler, so efficient to add more data to it. So when we're scaling up, it's easier to add more data. You get the outputs quicker, so the faster you get the outputs you want, the less money you spend. You see that? And it's so important to understand that. And you track improvement because everything that is tracked can be improved. You track improvement by analyzing the final output from the starting point and its simplicity of it. So it's basically the same thing that I just said in the 2 points before, right? So it becomes simpler to add more data to it, and you get the outputs quicker from the data that you add to the workflow, okay? And that's so important. That and the reason why I'm saying this is because, look, I had, for this very specific client, we started by programmatic advanced version 1, and programmatic advanced version 1 had and this is come from experience because I was the guy who had them. I didn't like to overcomplicate things, but I realized, I guess, that would be unconsciously I overcomplicate things when reality it should be simpler by, again, looking at all the workflow and understand that if I just make something better to improve another step, the next step, or to make it simpler. So just by thinking that by how can I do to make the second step or the next step way easier from the point where I'm right now, okay? That's like the idea, okay? So, and always looking by simplicity. Of course, you need to add more complexity to some specific workflows when we're talking about enrichments, data, qualifying things. To be really honest, if you understand everything from the beginning and you have a deep understanding about what you want to do, right, the next step should be easier for you, right? So I had a client where we had like programmatic version 1, like 4 tables, everything intertwined, but it was crazy to manage, and we were working with not a lot big data, like 1,000 records, few thousand records. But when we wanted to scale up because we wanted to increase the systems, that's where things get hard because now we were spending more money at scale, right? We were not decreasing cost by economics at scale. It was not working that way. The other thing was that we were getting the problems where we were having a lot of errors that's normal inside of Clay, and now you needed to rerun every single error that you had in some specific columns, and for that reason you were spending more time to get the final output for the whole list. Also, we were getting the problems where we were not being efficient in terms of the output because we were having too much columns. Then the output becomes less and less workable for you. I was having less and less power on the output because we were getting so greedy. We were taking the data into a process with multiple steps that where you were cutting, you were managing the data in terms that it became not efficient, but sometimes not even like real, you see. And those were I can list a lot of problems about those things, but the main thing I really want to touch on is that this is for you to scale, to improve, to make the systems way better, simpler at a scale, and that at the end of the day is gonna give you the same best result and even a better result than just being overcomplicating things and doing the things that you not necessarily need. So that's where that were the insight that were by working on version 1, version 2, version 3, version 5. We finalizing with the version 5 and was working perfectly, and because of that the cost decreases, the output returns faster, and we were able to scale with big data. There you go. Okay, and by doing this we were able to add more than $100,000 in more recurring revenue, by knowing that that's actually crazy on a $29.99 subscription. So yeah, this is just by iterating, doing the things in a really good way, being proficient, iterating. This is data, so you should iterate it, and at the end of the day you'll be able to understand how this data works. Every system is different, but the most important thing that I want to touch on in this thing is that everything works together, nothing is independent, and your quality of the output is based on the ability of you to understand what the most important things that you should look at and how you're going to manage those things so you have more power in them and not otherwise. Okay, so that's it. Thank you so much. I hope you really liked this video. I'm going to be recording more and more videos about this thing. This is experience. This is not about another clay feature. This is about how to operate inside this amazing tool. Okay, thank you so much. I hope you're doing really well today, and okay, see you in the next one. Okay, bye.